Hello, welcome to the channel. I just wanted to do a short little introductory video to the channel to let you know sort of what kind of wrestling I'm going to be talking about on Noiseberry Wrestling channel, and just give pretty much like my background in wrestling so you know kind of what I watch, my favorite wrestlers, that kind of stuff. So I first got into pro wrestling back in 2007. One of my friends in junior high, I don't really remember how it started, but I think he just mentioned that he'd been watching WWE, and I think I'd heard of it, but always thought it was a bit silly. And I think I was probably just around his house one time, and he put on an episode of like Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. Was it Thursdays back then? I don't remember. And I think I thought it was decently good, so we kind of started watching the weekly episodes together, and then we bought the WrestleMania 23 pay-per-view, which I loved. He was a big Shawn Michaels fan, I was a big John Cena fan, so it was a very, very fun show to watch together. And I think I only really watched wrestling for about a year at most. I think I literally watched from sometime in 2007 to sometime in 2008, and then fell out of it. And then WWE came here to Calgary in 2009, I think it was. And so my friend and I went to the show because it was a Raw taping, and we wanted to go to the show. And then after that, I just fell completely back out of it again. And then fast forward from 2009 to 2015, a YouTube channel I'd been following for years and years called Little Karibo, who did the Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged Series YouTube show, started posting these videos called The Mark Remark, which was him reviewing WWE Raw and WWE SmackDown. And I hadn't watched wrestling for 6 years, I hadn't kept up with it at all, but I loved Little Karibo, so I thought I would check out the videos, and I really enjoyed his videos. And so in, I think it would probably be April 2015 or at the end of March, I signed up for the WWE Network and watched WrestleMania 31, I'm pretty sure it was that year, and I quite enjoyed it. It was fun getting back into the wrestling. I wasn't knowledgeable about wrestling anymore. I knew some of the characters from the Mark Remark videos, but I didn't know any of the insider stuff or anything, so I just had a blast watching the show. And my sister also watched the Mark Remark videos, and so we started watching WWE together after that. We watched Raw and SmackDown every single week. And later in the year, I discovered the Squared Circle subreddit, which is probably the best and worst thing to happen to me wrestling-wise. It's exposed me to so many other wrestlers and wrestling promotions, which is great, but it does take you a little bit too behind the curtain to know all the insider stuff for wrestling. And I would always see people talking about this wrestler Finn Balor on there, and I discovered that WWE had a third weekly show called NXT, and it was just on the network. It was just an hour on Tuesdays, I'm pretty sure it was. So I started watching that as well, and when I learned more about Finn Balor, I learned that he'd formed a group called Bullet Club in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and so I started watching New Japan Pro Wrestling from that point. And my very first New Japan show was Wrestle Kingdom, must have been 2016, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was Wrestle Kingdom, January 4th, 2016. That was the first full show I watched. I watched it, it had quite questionable English commentary at the time because they didn't really do much English commentary, but it was enough for me to learn the characters and the wrestlers, and I fell totally in love with New Japan. I loved their style, I loved all the wrestlers there, so I started watching that a bunch, and kind of, I think after a year or two maybe, started keeping up with WWE less and less. Would still watch the pay-per-views, but started just reading the recaps of the weekly shows. And I guess fast forward several years to 2020, 2021, all of my favorite wrestlers in New Japan, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Hangman Adam Page, all left New Japan and formed All Elite Wrestling. And so all of my favorite wrestlers were all going to the same promotion. I began keeping up with AEW from day one. I've watched every single episode of Dynamite from day one, and that is just my favorite promotion. I watch every show, I buy every pay-per-view. My girlfriend and I are going to go see an AEW Collision taping here in Calgary on July 15th. It's going to be her first, actually it's going to be her second live wrestling show. We went to one called Dungeon Wrestling here in Calgary last Halloween, which was super fun. So yeah, we're going to go to the Collision show in Calgary. My sister and I are going to go to a SmackDown show here in Calgary in August. So I've got quite a bit of live wrestling coming up here. So maybe some videos on those, I'm not really sure. And this is already getting a little bit long, so I'll just wrap up by talking about, or by saying some of my favorite wrestlers, I guess. Kenny Omega is my number one favorite wrestler. Will Ospreay is up there for sure. Yeah, I think Omega and Ospreay are probably 1 and 2. Then probably like Kazuchika Okada, number 3. I think maybe like Edge, number 4. And like Bret Hart is number 5. So a little bit of variety there, hopefully. But yeah, Kenny Omega is my favorite wrestler of all time. So there you go, just a short little video, short-ish, to give you an idea of what you might expect to see on this channel, and kind of my wrestling background and some of my favorite wrestlers and promotions. I don't really have any super concrete ideas for what videos I want to put on here right now. Possibly like show reviews, something like that. I feel like it would be a good idea to maybe talk about like the Collision taping I go to and the SmackDown taping I go to. So thank you very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, feel free to subscribe. Maybe turn on notifications, just because videos on here are going to be pretty infrequent, I think. My main focus is going to be on the gaming channel for sure. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!